guys, so this week we are learning about tactile texture, and we know by now that visual texture is a texture that we can see with our eyes, but tactile texture is something that we can feel with our hands. So we're going to be making a little bit of line art today, and you need about 3 things for this project. First thing you need is a piece of cardboard or an old box lid or something like that. I just removed this from a box and I cut it into a square. The second thing you will need is some sort of string or yarn. So if you don't have yarn at home, like I don't have yarn at home, but I have some string that I use for baking, and that will work just as well. If you don't have either of those things and you happen to have pipe cleaners at home, you can also do this with pipe cleaners. So the last thing that I will need is some aluminum foil. So hopefully you all have some aluminum foil at your house, in your kitchen. So those 3 things are what we need to make our base, okay? And your piece of cardboard doesn't have to be square like mine. It could really be any shape that you want, but something with straight edges is just the easiest. So what I've done is I've taken a pair of scissors and I've snipped little slits into the sides all the way around my square piece of cardboard. Now, I'm going to do this, the slitting, if I want to make straight lines on my artwork. If I want something kind of curvy, something else that you could do instead of notching the sides out like this is take some liquid glue, just some white craft glue, and a paintbrush and paint my whole piece of cardboard with glue. And then it's sticky enough where I can lay down the string anywhere I want into any kind of shape that I want. So if I wanted like a swirly in the middle, my piece of cardboard would be sticky, so anywhere that I lay down the string, it's gonna stick there. But if I just want some straight across lines, I don't need to mess with getting all messy with the glue. I can just notch the sides of my cardboard. And then I'm going to take a little tail, and my rule of thumb for anything yarn is that my little tail needs to be about as long as my pinky finger. Okay, so I'm going to run that through one of the slits behind my piece of cardboard, and then I can just go crazy with crisscrossing it around and back and forth in any pattern that I think looks cool and good, right? So I'm gonna do mine like that. It's really simple, but it'll do the trick. The next step is to cover this whole thing with tin foil. So I am going to tear off a piece of tin foil. If you are doing this yourself, take a word of advice from Mrs. Turner, who has cut myself on this many, many times, and either ask a grown-up to tear off this piece of tin foil for you, or be very, very careful of this edge, because I really can't tell you how many times I've cut myself on one of those. So I'm going to take a piece of tin foil that's just a little bit larger than my cardboard, and I'm going to tear that off really carefully. And then I'm going to lay this piece of tin foil, either there's one side of tin foil that's kind of brushed and one side that's really shiny, and they both have kind of different effects on your artwork when they're done. So I think I'm going to choose to do this shiny side, but it is totally up to you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this tin foil around all of my edges so that it's really tight across my piece of cardboard. So I'm wrapping it all the way around, kind of folding it along these edges until every piece of my tin foil is tucked back behind my cardboard. Then I'm going to get my hands and I'm going to smooth it down over the top of my string so that I can see all of my string lines through. And that's going to give us our tactile texture. So when I feel this, I feel the crinkly edges of my tin foil, and then I also feel these lines that we created with our string underneath our tin foil. So I can feel all that. And then it gives you different sections to decorate in. Now, the best thing for this project are Sharpies, because Sharpies will draw on top of tin foil and they'll stay there. If you do not have permanent markers of some kind, don't use washable markers on this project, because it's just going to rub off of the tinfoil and get you all messy, and it's not going to stay on your artwork. So if you don't have colorful permanent markers at home, you could use a black permanent marker. If that's all you have, you could do a bunch of patterns with black on top of this. That would look really cool. Or you could use some paint if you have some paint at home. I'm going to use colored Sharpies, and I'm gonna follow along these lines we made with our string and decorate each section a little bit different from each other. So for this one, I think I'll do some stripes, and you can see how cool and metallic our Sharpies end up looking on top of this tin foil. So really have fun personalizing your texture artwork and making sure that each section that you've made with your string underneath your tin foil has something different in each area of it, because that just makes it look interesting and fun, right? So I would go through the rest of it and I would pick out some different colored markers, and I would go in and decorate each one of these sections. And then when I'm all done, I can even go on top of these string lines that I made with another color of Sharpie and make those lines look colored as well. Be sure that you're not dragging your hand through what you've already done, because it does take a little bit to dry on this surface. So if you run your hand over an area that you just did, it's gonna transfer that permanent marker to your hand, okay? We hope that you guys have a lot of fun playing with tactile texture this week, and we can't wait to see how your artwork turns out. Don't forget to share with us. Bye.